Ty Schmidt, there's been some news. I know you are on the Adam Schefter podcast. You are a co-host.
Correct.
Co-host
Well,
with Adam Schefter.
I host the weekly Six Pack.
There we go, the weekly Six Pack. What were you saying?
The Six Pack of questions.
Adam Schefter was talking about Micah Parsons and the situation with the Cowboys. What was he saying earlier today?
Yeah, he pretty much said that he thinks Micah and the Cowboys are headed for like an ugly divorce, and that he doesn't know if it means that he will be traded before the start of this year or if he'll play for the Cowboys this year and then be traded like after the season. But he made it sound like everything that he's hearing based on like Micah putting out the post saying he's ready to be traded. He wants to move on from Dallas. He thinks that really pissed off the Cowboys. And then same thing, like the Cowboys kind of publicly burying him and all that kind of stuff. He basically said that they haven't resumed talks or talked about an extension or anything like that in a very long time. And he thinks it's pretty much over with. And now it's just a matter of when that's going to be.
I mean, that's big news. If that we will ask Schefter here when he joins us in a few moments. But have we ever seen Jerry move on from someone like of Micah's caliber that he drafted? Like, hey, we draft this guy. He's developed here, and he is a cornerstone of this franchise. Obviously, premier pass rusher in all of the NFL.
Quincy Carter.
Has he gotten rid of any of these? Let any of these guys walk? I just can't imagine a place where Jerry Jones let somebody like Micah walk, no matter how bad it gets.
It's not on like a Micah level, but that Randy Gregory thing just happened, where they were going to sign him, and then there was some money situation, and then he basically just said, screw the Cowboys and went to Denver, and then Denver went how it went, and he got released from there. But I don't think so to the Micah Parsons level, like not even close. Usually this is like I honestly threw this when it started into the category of like T.J. Watt. Like, this is gonna get done. Jerry's just gonna drag this out, and then they're gonna give Micah a ton of money.
I think most of us were insanely shocked if we didn't already know when we learned that he was playing on his fifth year rookie option without a new contract, because that never, like, Jamar Chase got one after his third, right? Like, and then a lot of guys get it after their fourth, but like Micah is in that ilk, if you will, of those players in that draft class and how he's played. I mean, he's been top 5 of defensive MVP basically every single season that he's been
wherever you can line the dude up wherever you want. He played off the ball linebacker in college, and he's one of the best outside rushers on the planet. But he also you can put him wherever he's so difficult to block.
Yeah, you look at pieces that you put value marks on, like quarterback, you start there, and then pass rusher is usually the next piece, and he's been at an elite level. So you asked a question about, has Jerry ever moved on from a player at this point? I'm gonna go out on a limb and say no, just like everybody else, just because number one, there aren't many people on that list who would be what Micah Parsons has been since stepping into the league. And then, number two, pass rushers, they never, become available. Not guys like this. So this is wild. Even more than I thought. I was more confident in this deal getting done, even more than T.J. Watt, because of just T.J. Watt being 30, 31 years old. This guy being in his prime, like, you thought this was a no-brainer, so it's crazy.
Micah, since being in the league, he has had 13 and a half, 14, and 12 sacks.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, he's
pretty good production.
It's unbelievable. And now if that, like, I'm interested to see what Schefter says, but it will be crazy to see the haul for Micah Parsons and the contract, both parts of the deal. And then this also becomes one of those situations where you got to have to, it's a 3-team agreement, and one of those teams is Micah, right? This is almost, is it to the point of like Brandon Ayuk, last offseason where the teams were reaching out to the Niners and they agreed to terms, but then, Ayuk would say no? Like, do they have to do that with Micah here, or how is it?
It's a rookie deal. I doubt on rookie deal.
Before you trade for him, I would assume there's going to be some assurances that he will sign a long-term deal.
Yeah,
for sure.
But, let's say the Cowboys, but we're hearing that he could possibly play this year and then maybe trade him. Like, when does Micah come back? Like, what makes him come back?
Well, I don't know, because I think that was the assumption too. Though, is like, all this stuff. Yeah, you hear all this, but like, if the Cowboys go out and they do end up meeting again, and he becomes the highest paid player or highest defensive player in NFL history, like, that's kind of a good way to bury a lot of ill will. But I from the sounds of it, from what Schefter's saying, like, there have been no attempts even for them to talk. So, like, I think he's kind of done with them. I think they're maybe kind of done with him. But him more so than anyone else. Like now, if he were to get traded in, comes in like, well, would they even trade this guy to a team in the NFC? Because like, I don't know if you'd be able to stomach playing it be, the Cowboys being in the playoffs and you got Micah Parsons on the other side and he ruins so then that comes into, and then like you said, like you're going to have to pay this guy a bunch of money. I don't know. There's so many questions that come with it. And I think everyone just assumed like, hey, this is all bullshit. At the end of the day, he's going to get a massive deal and he's going to be a Cowboy for the rest of his career. But it sounds like that might not be the case.
Yeah, and that's why it doesn't make sense just because, let alone how good he is, but like what he means to the team. I forget if it was you, D-Bud, or Tony, or who said it yesterday, might have been you, Ty, about like him playing hurt at the end of the season too. It's like, hey, that is a big thing, I'm sure, in the locker room. Like I'm assuming, of course he liked Mike McCarthy, but I'm assuming the next shoddy and the next defensive staff and everybody, they want him there just because of, what he means to the other guys in the locker room. Like, Trevon Diggs isn't as good as Trevon Diggs is without Micah Parsons. I mean, you and Harry Douglas talked about that yesterday. It's one of those things where if you let this guy leave, you will probably regret it for 5 years because of how good he'll be somewhere else and of how it'll affect the other players on your team. Like I'd be interested to go back and look at like Deron Bland's pick sixes during the season. He broke the record, and how many Micah Parsons is.
He affected it.
Yeah, about to get a sack. Like it's crazy, I'm sure.
Well, we're going to get to the bottom of it right here. Let's go to the source right now. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Adam Schefter. What's up, Schefter?
Yay! What's going on, guys? That was all Ty. Ty said everything about Micah Parsons. That was not me.
That was not okay. So, what are you hearing then, other than what Ty said? What are you hearing about this Micah Parsons situation, Schefty?
Well, look, I also want to preface by saying these things always can change, and situations often change at the end of August and September. It changed for CeeDee Lamb last year. It changed for Dak Prescott last year. This one doesn't feel that way. It doesn't feel that way today. That doesn't mean it can't change, but the way that it's tracking, it feels more likely that these sides are headed for a divorce today than they would be for a new deal. Now, I don't know that it'll play out that way, but that is what I see when I look into my crystal ball. Now, I don't know whether that means there will be a trade now or after the season. I think the most likely scenario would be that he's there this year, his contract expires, they franchise tag him, and then after they franchise tag him, then they have the ability to go and try and trade him. But there's a lot that has to play out here. It's unsettled. And all we know is that there are, I think, hurt feelings on both sides. There have been zero contract negotiations discussions since late March, early April.
Wow.
They haven't come close to a new deal. The players demanded a trade. Like I say, it just feels different than Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb. And we'll see if they change that here in the last 2 weeks. But that's not how it feels today.
Schefter, the Cowboys knew this was coming, though, right? They knew they've seen what Micah Parsons has done for this team. They knew they're going to have to pay him. Why is there going back to March? You're saying how is there not much communication with this?
I mean, I think if we just track and follow everything that's been said and done publicly, you can piece together the pieces of the puzzle and come up with the situation. Jerry and Micah were meeting. Jerry thought he had the framework of a deal done with Micah. Micah did not feel that way. Micah never saw a contract, never saw a piece of paper. Nothing was put down on paper. Jerry Jones himself has said this summer, when I bought the Dallas Cowboys for whatever he paid, $135, $150 million, he did it, as he said, on a handshake agreement. I think Jerry felt like there was a handshake agreement with Micah when his agent, David Mulgeta, was not involved. Micah came out after the owners' meetings and said, any deal that gets done will include my agent, David Mulgeta. They have not had any talk since then. None. I think the Cowboys were upset that Micah didn't move forward with them. I think Micah wasn't happy that they didn't feel comfortable or try to get the deal done with his agent. In the interim, we've seen Max Crosby get paid. We've seen Myles Garrett get paid. We've seen Danielle Hunter get paid. We've seen TJ Watt get paid. We've seen all these pass rushers get paid at a time where they're not even talking to Micah about a new contract. And then Micah issued a lengthy statement a couple of Fridays ago requesting a trade from the Dallas Cowboys, in which he laid out the whole situation that we're talking about here. It's all there. It's all there.
Right
Just
there.
read it.
Yep.
Okay, so all we're doing is talking about everything that's transpired, interpreting it, and putting it into its proper context today. In negotiations, things change. All of a sudden, talks restart. AJ, you've been around the league a long time. There have been any number of strained negotiations that all of a sudden got done at the end of August, right before the start of the season. My point is, and I could be wrong, I don't see this one going that way. I see this one going in a different direction. I see this one today headed to a divorce, whether that's after the season, whether they franchise him once, twice, whatever it may be. That's where it feels like it's going, and it's up to both sides to change that narrative and get some talks done and go from there. And we'll see if they can do that.
As far as Micah goes, like, does all of a sudden if let's say they don't work out anything, he doesn't get traded, come week one, he just dresses and he plays, or what?
Well, that's the other part of this, right? I mean, we have Jerry Jones himself saying that he doesn't know that Micah is going to be playing in week one. Micah still hasn't practiced. He's got back tightness all summer long. Okay? So there are all these things that are just out there. And until the two sides squash it in one way, which they may or may not, that's why I believe it's headed the wrong way. That's my interpretation of it. That's based on conversations I've had. So we'll see. If all of a sudden they can get together and make his back right and get a deal done, and he's playing and live happily ever after, then that's great for them. But it doesn't feel like that's going to be the case.
All right, let's say, Schefter, this divorce does happen like you're alluding to. Who are some of the real players out there that are in position to make a real move for Micah, a real aggressive move? I would assume it'd take multiple firsts at this point probably, but what team do you have in mind? Based on the teams you may be spoken about, and what do they think about what's going on in Dallas, but what teams do you have in mind that are real players in this situation for Micah?
Well, Darius, I would say every team in the league would have him. But I want to be very clear. I don't know that it's going to happen now. I don't think it's going to happen now. Okay? I think there's still a lot of acts left in this play that have to play out before we get to the spot where Dallas is trading Micah Parsons. Again, could it happen? It could. I don't think that's the likely scenario, just like I don't think the two sides coming together for a contract extension is also a likely scenario. I think, to me today, it feels like they're going to kind of put up with each other this year, and then the Cowboys would have the franchise tag, and then they would put the franchise tag on him, and then all of a sudden, next offseason would be the offseason of the Micah trade. I think that one, of all the scenarios, feels to be the most logical today. Now, we'll see if something changes. It certainly can. That's part of the deal when we're on August 19th. There's still 2 weeks, but the Cowboys open their season 2 weeks from Thursday night. Micah still hasn't practiced yet. So I would say to AJ, as a linebacker, Darius, you tell me, how would you feel about not practicing all summer, and how effective and how much do you think you could play in an opening game where you haven't really practiced all summer?
I mean, I'd want to get a couple reps in. I'm not going to lie. I want to get my body conditioned a little bit. But Micah, we know, is an absolute physical freak. He can run all day long. He can bend and turn the corner like nobody else on the planet. And he's super powerful. So especially as an outside rusher, you could throw that dude in. I mean, even if he plays half the snaps, he still might get 4 sacks and cause 2 fumbles. So he could do it.
We saw it with Nick Bosa, right?
Nick Bosa,
and then he kind of started.
And then Jamar Chase did it last year too.
Yeah,
and he had a triple crown. It can be done. It's just not ideal. But again, let's see what they can get done in the next 2 weeks, if anything. I don't think they're going to get a contract done. I could be wrong. That's my guess.
Has Jerry ever drafted a guy that at Micah's caliber, we know the guy's on a different stratosphere than most people, like he's an absolute superstar, and let that guy walk and not re-sign him? Have we ever seen Jerry do this before?
Well, they're not going to let him walk. They're going
Or
to
trade
trade
him.
him.
I'm saying not give him
Yeah,
not give him a second
Yeah,
deal
second
like
deal,
that,
yeah.
that second deal.
Well, the only other one that I could think of that they traded away, the one player that they traded away, there was a cornerback, Thomas Everett, a defensive back that they traded to the Buccaneers right after his Pro Bowl season. They traded Herschel Walker at midseason at the beginning of Jerry's ownership for obviously a haul of picks that remade the franchise. And if they ever got into a situation where they were, in fact, trading Micah, which, again, I just think becomes more and more likely if this offseason continues the way it's gone, then it would be another haul of picks that I would think would be comparable to what the Raiders once got back from the Chicago Bears for Khalil Mack.